I woke up in his bed just like I had 100 times before. The smell of his cologne still lingered in the sheets, and his toothbrush was beside mine in the bathroom. Everything felt normal, except James wasn't there. At first, I figured he had gone to work early. It wasn't unusual. He had meetings on Mondays. I texted him, "Where'd you run off to?" No reply. By lunchtime, my messages were still unread, so I called straight to voicemail. That's when I felt it. The shift, the wrongness. It started as a twinge. By 6 p.m., it was a full-blown ache in my chest. I went back to his place after work. My key didn't fit. At first I laughed. Maybe he'd changed the lock. Maybe it was broken. Then the door opened, and James was standing there, but he looked at me like I was a stranger. "Can I help you?" he asked. My stomach dropped. "Very funny." He didn't smile. "I'm sorry. Do I know you?" I stared at him. "James, it's me." "Ella." He blinked. "Ella?" I laughed again, nervously this time. "This isn't funny. Let me in." He stepped out, closing the door behind him. "I'm not sure what this is, but you need to leave," he said. I searched his face for some sign, a twitch, a smirk, something to tell me this was a prank. There was nothing. "You're joking," I said. "I'm not." "We've been together for 2 years," I whispered. He shook his head. "I don't know you." I wanted to scream. Instead, I turned and walked away. I barely slept that night. The next morning, I went to our favorite cafe. The barista, Ava, looked up and smiled. "Hey, where's your boyfriend?" Relief washed over me. "Funny story," I said. "He's pretending not to know me." She frowned. "Who?" "James." Her smile froze. "James? We come here all the time, every Saturday morning. I get the chai latte, he gets that disgusting turmeric thing." I don't know who that is." I stared at her. "Are you serious?" "I think you have me confused with someone else." I backed out the door and nearly collapsed on the street. I went to my best friend's place. Rachel opened the door, gave me a hug. "God, you look awful." "I think I'm losing my mind," I said. She poured me a glass of wine. I told her everything. James, the door, the cafe, Ava. She listened, then said gently, "Ella, I don't want to upset you, but who's James?" My wine glass slipped out of my hand and shattered. "What?" "I don't know anyone named James." I couldn't breathe. "We've had dinner with him. You've been to his house. He came to your birthday." Rachel shook her head. "I think you need to talk to someone." So I did. I booked a therapist, Dr. Langford. She was kind, calm. She asked good questions. "Have you ever had an episode like this before?" she asked. "I'm not having an episode. I'm not accusing you of anything, but this kind of memory dissonance can happen." I showed her the photos on my phone, except they weren't there. Not one photo of James, not one text thread, nothing. "I swear he existed," I whispered. She smiled sadly. I spent the next week tearing my life apart. Every drawer, every email, every backup drive. All I found were tiny, useless things. A ticket stub to a movie I remember seeing with James, but no photo to prove it. A necklace I swear he bought me, but no receipt. Nothing that couldn't be explained some other way. My boss called me into her office that Friday. "You've been off this week," I nodded. "I'm going through something." She sighed. "Ella, there's no easy way to say this. HR flagged your background check." "My background?" "You listed a reference named James Marlowe. His number isn't in service." The email bounced. "I gave you that reference 2 months ago," I said. She frowned. "Ella, you joined the company 2 years ago." "I know, but your paperwork's all dated March of this year." My heart was in my throat. "That's not possible." "It might be time to take a few weeks off." I left the office, walked until my legs gave out, sat on a park bench as the sun went down, and cried. I was being erased. No, I was already gone. I stopped trusting my own thoughts. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face, his crooked smile, that scar on his jaw from falling off his bike as a kid. I remembered it all in perfect detail, and yet none of it existed. Not in photos, not in text, not in anyone else's memory. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe I had imagined James. Maybe I'd invented the relationship during a breakdown, but that didn't explain the smells, the tastes, the physical aches of missing him. I started journaling everything I could remember about our time together, the restaurants, the road trips, the inside jokes, even the fights. I filled an entire notebook in 3 days, and then, without thinking, I flipped through my phone contacts. He wasn't there. No James, no Jay, not even an old number with no name. But I hadn't deleted him. I was sure of it. I scrolled through my camera roll again. Nothing. So I searched my cloud backups. Nothing. I signed into my email and typed James in the search bar. 0 results. But then something strange happened. I got a call from an unknown number. I didn't answer. I let it go to voicemail. The message was short. A woman's voice whispering, "You're not crazy. He did it to me too." I played it 5 times trying to place the voice. It wasn't Rachel. It wasn't anyone I recognized. I texted the number, no reply. When I tried to call, it was disconnected. That was the moment the fear shifted into rage. I went back to Dr. Langford and told her everything. She listened carefully, nodding, scribbling in her notebook. "I'd like to suggest a scan," she said gently, "just to rule things out." "A brain scan?" "Yes. If you're experiencing memory loss or delusions, we should cover our bases." So I agreed. I had the scan the next week. The neurologist found nothing abnormal. No tumors, no lesions, nothing. "You're perfectly healthy," he said, "at least neurologically." But I didn't feel healthy. I felt hollow. One night, I went out for a walk. It was late, cold. I found myself outside James's house again. Except now it wasn't his house. The mailbox said C. Rivers. A woman. I stood on the sidewalk, staring at the front window. Then the curtain moved. She was there. She looked normal, pretty, long auburn hair, pale skin. She looked down at her phone, then looked up, right at me. I turned and walked away before she could come out. But the next day, I looked her up. Claire Rivers. Instagram showed a picture of her standing in front of the same house, smiling with a man. It was James, except her caption read, "First home together. Me and Ryan can't wait to start this chapter." Ryan? He changed his name? Or had it always been Ryan? My head spun. I clicked through her profile. Photos of them at restaurants I remembered. Photos in the park where we'd gone on our first date. A photo of a necklace I'd sworn was mine. A silver teardrop pendant. I still had one just like it in my jewelry box. My hands shook as I stared at the screen. He hadn't just erased me. He'd replaced me. I sent the profile link to Rachel. She texted back, "Why are you sending me some random couple?" I called her. "That's him. That's James." She paused. "Ella, that man's name is Ryan. You're spiraling again." "No," I said. "That house, that was where we lived together." "You never lived with anyone named James. You've never lived in that neighborhood." I hung up on her. I couldn't listen to any more of it. I took 2 weeks off work. I stopped answering calls. I shut down my social media. I stopped seeing Dr. Langford. All I did was dig. I went back to Claire's Instagram. She had a tagged account in her bio, a YouTube channel. It was full of vlogs. One was a home renovation video, turning our 90s kitchen into something modern. The title read. I clicked it. Claire stood in the kitchen, smiling, talking to the camera. Then he walked in. James, Ryan, whoever the hell he really was. My breath caught. He kissed her cheek, called her babe, made a joke about her painting skills. But then I saw something that nearly made me drop my phone. On the wall behind them was a framed photo. It was blurry, but I knew that frame, that exact image. It was one of mine. A photo of me and James, taken on our trip to the coast. I paused the video, zoomed in. It was hard to see, but I knew my own face. I sat there, staring at the screen, shaking. Then I screen recorded the video and sent it to myself. The next morning, the YouTube channel was gone. Account deleted, all content erased. That wasn't a coincidence. He was watching me. He knew I had found him. I didn't leave the house for days. Every sound felt like a threat. Every shadow held meaning. But the rage, it kept me warm. He had erased me from the world, from memory, from technology, from the people I loved, but not completely, not perfectly. He slipped up. That photo was his first mistake, and I would make sure it was his last. I started watching Claire, not in a threatening way, not at first. I needed answers. Every morning she left the house at 7:45 a.m. in a gray Mini Cooper. Sometimes she wore scrubs, other times a trench coat and trainers. I guessed she worked in healthcare, maybe administrator. She looked organized, efficient, like the kind of woman who set reminders for reminders. She smiled at her neighbors, always carried a reusable coffee cup. On Wednesdays, she took a yoga mat with her. At night, she came home by 6, sometimes alone, sometimes with him, sometimes with James or Ryan or whatever name he used now. I never saw them argue. They were polite, affectionate, boring, but that made it worse. He hadn't just replaced me, he'd upgraded. Claire was better, shinier, smoother around the edges. She didn't cry when people gaslit her. She probably did meal prep. She probably said, "It is what it is," without irony. And I hated her. But more than that, I was fascinated by her. Because something wasn't right. One Friday morning, she came out wearing my necklace. Not something like it. Mine. The silver teardrop pendant James gave me after our first big fight. I'd kept it in a little velvet box in his bedside drawer. I remembered that detail clearly. Now it was swinging gently above her collarbone, catching the sunlight like it belonged to her. My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. That night, I broke into my old flat. I still had a spare key. The landlord hadn't changed the locks. The place was cold, hollow. My old furniture was gone, replaced by neutral tones and soulless IKEA decor. But in the back of the hallway closet, behind some cleaning supplies, I found my storage box, one I hadn't touched in months. Inside were some old notebooks, a scarf, a birthday card from my mother, and the velvet box. Empty. He had taken it, given it to her, as if I had never existed. That was the night I decided I wasn't just going to watch anymore. I needed to be in her world. So I created a new identity, new Gmail, new socials. I picked the name Leah, a nod to my old self, twisted just enough. I created a freelance account as a part-time writer and tutor. I listed my location as the same neighborhood. Then I joined a local Facebook group. Anyone know a good yoga class that isn't full of influencers? I posted. Claire responded, "We have a great instructor every Wednesday evening at Fitwell Studio. Not too busy, no TikTok dancers, promise smiley face." I replied, "Thanks. Maybe I'll see you there." I went the next week, wore a baggy hoodie, hair tied back, no makeup. She was already there, second row from the front. I placed my mat a row behind her, diagonally, just far enough to avoid eye contact, just close enough to see her movements. She didn't recognize me, or at least she gave no sign. Maybe he'd never shown her a photo. Maybe I looked different enough now, skinnier, darker under the eyes, hollowed out from all the madness. After class, I waited by the lockers. She smiled politely as she passed. I smiled back. The next week, I complimented her mat. The week after, we exchanged names. "Claire," she said, holding out her hand. "Leah," I lied. Her grip was warm, confident. She smelled like lavender. I wanted to scream. I started planting seeds. During class, I'd mimic her movements exactly, even her hesitations. At the cafe afterward, I ordered the same drink. One evening, she complimented my earrings. I smiled and said, "Funny, you wore something just like them last week." She blinked. "Did I? Oh, maybe I'm imagining things." She laughed it off, but her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Next time I saw her, I noticed the dark circles under hers. I was in her head now. I found her LinkedIn through a comment she left on the yoga studio's page. Claire Rivers, practice manager at Hallowmere Clinic. I called and asked to speak with her, posing as a patient. She picked up. Hi, this is Claire speaking. I hung up. Later that night, I made a spoofed call. She answered again. I stayed silent for 20 seconds, just breathing into the line. She whispered, "Hello?" Then, "Is someone there?" I hung up again. I bumped into her outside the yoga studio a few days later. "You okay?" I asked. "You look kind of, off." She forced a smile. "Didn't sleep well." "Nightmares?" "No," she said, "just weird vibes lately." "Like what?" She hesitated, then laughed. "Probably nothing. Just ever get the feeling someone's watching you?" I tilted my head. "That's creepy." "Right?" I smiled. "Maybe you've got a stalker." She laughed, but it was tight, nervous. "I'm joking," I added. "Sort of." She didn't respond. That weekend, I created a fake Instagram account. No posts, just a blank profile. Username, "You remember me now." I followed her, then unfollowed, then followed again. She blocked me. I made another account, the erased one. Repeat. She posted less after that, deleted a few older photos, including the one with the necklace. The cracks were forming. It wouldn't be long before she started questioning things. Her life, her identity, her safety, exactly the way I had. My old apartment had a storage unit in the basement. I hadn't thought about it in months. It was damp, barely lit, and probably crawling with spiders, but I knew exactly where I'd hidden the box. Not because it mattered at the time, but because Ryan, once told me, "Always keep a backup of your backups." It was one of those little things he said that stuck. I used to love him for that. Now it felt like a curse. I pried open the rusted door with shaking hands. There, at the back, beneath a tarp and an old suitcase, was the box. Inside, old cables, a dead Kindle, a few journals, and my second phone. The one I hadn't used since upgrading last year. The one I had forgotten even existed. Battery was dead, of course. I took it home, found a compatible charger, and prayed. It powered on. Passcode. I guessed it. My old dog's name. It worked. My fingers trembled as I opened the photo gallery. And there it was. A selfie in the bathroom mirror. Me and James, both grinning, toothbrushes in hand. I nearly dropped the phone. I scrolled frantically. A dinner photo, a blurry beach shot, a short video of us singing in the car. He existed. We existed. I wasn't insane. I wasn't delusional. He had lied. Everyone had lied. Or worse, they'd been made to forget. I spent the entire night cataloging everything. Every text, every voicemail, every timestamp. Proof of a life that no longer existed. One video, in particular, stood out. I was filming him cooking, shirtless, humming, smiling. He looked up and said, "If you ever leave me, I'll forget how to boil water." I whispered from behind the camera, "You'll never have to." He laughed. I cried. The next morning, I uploaded copies of everything to a secret Google Drive, labeled it with something innocuous. Tax receipts 2019. Then I went to yoga. Claire wasn't there. I waited outside the studio for 15 minutes before texting her. "Missed you today. Everything okay?" She replied 2 hours later, "Just under the weather. Catch you next week." The smiley face felt forced. That night, I watched one of the videos again, the car ride one. We were on our way to a lake house rental. I remembered the trip, the rain, the fight we had about something stupid. Then I remembered something else. We left the house in a rush and forgot the charger to his DSLR. He made us turn around. He'd left the charger plugged in behind the TV. My pulse quickened. That house still existed. If he'd erased me digitally, he might have missed something physical. I pulled up the old rental receipt from my archived email. Bless my hoarding habits. Address, 74 Alderway, 2 hours north. I went the next day. The house was still there, still listed on Airbnb, but empty. I parked down the street and waited until the coast was clear, then walked around back, slid open the broken gate, ducked under a rotting pergola. I peered in the back window. Same ugly floral couch, same ceramic dog statue on the mantel. I used a hairpin to pop the lock. Inside, the place smelled like dust and mildew. I went straight to the living room, pulled the TV stand away from the wall. Nothing. I checked every drawer, every cabinet, nothing. I almost gave up. Then, in the bedroom, I opened the closet and saw it. A ratty gym bag, half buried behind old linens. Inside, a tangled mess of cables, chargers, and the DSLR. Still his. I powered it on. Battery was low, but enough to flip through the gallery. Photos of the lake, of the house, of me. One with me, asleep on the couch, hair stuck to my face, drooling. He always said I looked peaceful when I slept. Another of me standing on the porch, middle finger raised, laughing. Another, him holding me, our faces pressed together in the fading sunset. I sat down on the floor and cried. This was the proof. Not just for me, for her. I printed 3 of the photos at a self-service booth the next morning, tucked them into an unmarked envelope. No return address. I wrote her name in block capitals on the front, Claire Rivers, and mailed it to her office. 2 days later, she didn't show up to yoga again. No text this time. I sent her a message that night. Everything okay? No reply. The next day, I got an email from a burner account. Subject, stop. Body, yeah. I don't know what game you're playing, but I'm not crazy. Leave us alone. See, she knew now. The question was, what would she do with that knowledge? I didn't respond. I let her sit in the silence, in the weight of what she'd seen. A week later, she posted a photo on Instagram, just her, on a bench in the park, looking off camera. The caption read, "Taking a break from the noise." Comments were turned off. She was unraveling. I could feel it, the same way I had. I slept for the first time in weeks. She stopped posting entirely after that. No more yoga, no more park selfies. Her presence online, gone, just like mine had been. But it wasn't silence, it was retreat. And that's when I knew she believed me now, which meant it was time to begin. I didn't come at her head on. That's what she expected. Instead, I stepped into her shadow. Every piece of her world she tried to protect, I slipped quietly into. Not to take, not yet, just to shake, to unsettle, to remind her that no matter how tightly she held it, nothing in her life was truly hers. I started with the easiest target, her work. Using my Leah identity, I left a review on her clinic's Google page. Friendly receptionist. Practice managers seemed distracted, unprofessional, kept looking over her shoulder during my consultation. Within 24 hours, it had 2 likes, then another, then a response from the clinic account. We take feedback seriously and will investigate internally. I smiled. Next, I joined a local parenting forum Claire had once commented on. I remembered the username because it was something try-hard and quirky. Yoga, Mommy, Clay, RX. I created a new profile and posted, "Anyone else feel like someone on here isn't who they say they are? Weird DMS, like almost identity theft level weird. No names, no accusations, but people love drama." Speculation exploded. Claire deleted her profile the next day. The next target was James. I found his new work profile under Ryan M. He was listed as senior consultant at a faceless tech company. Boring. I made a fake LinkedIn account and sent him a connection request. He accepted within an hour. His bio read, problem solver, data-driven, passionate about people. Funny, he wasn't passionate about me when he deleted me from reality. I waited 2 days, then sent him a private message. "Do you remember Ella?" No reply. I sent another, "She remembers you." He blocked me, but the damage was done. I started showing up in small, coincidental ways. At their grocery store, just as Claire was checking out, she looked up and saw me, 2 lanes over, buying toothpaste and frozen peas. I met her eyes, smiled, walked away. The next week, I saw her at a bookstore. I pretended to browse while she stood near the thrillers. She froze, didn't say a word, didn't need to. Her hand trembled as she reached for her phone. Then I got bolder. I sent her a handwritten note. Not threatening, not demanding, Just 3 lines. You know who I am. You know what he did. And now you know how it feels. No name, no signature, just the truth. 2 days later, I walked by their house. It was subtle, blinds drawn, lights off early, motion sensor camera installed above the door. They were retreating. Good. I wanted them nervous. I made a copy of one of our old home videos in the beach trip, the one with the silly song in the car, and edited it. I cut it down to 30 seconds. No names, just me and him laughing. No context. Then I uploaded it anonymously to a Dropbox and emailed it to Claire's work email with a simple message. Thought you'd want to know who your boyfriend used to be. She didn't reply, but the next day I saw a moving van in front of their house. I watched from across the street, behind a pair of oversized sunglasses. Boxes stacked, furniture wrapped, tension thick in the air. James, Ryan, was barking orders at the movers. Claire stood on the porch, arms crossed, jaw clenched. They were running, but I wasn't following, because I already knew where they were going. They moved into a high-rise condo across town, more security, concierge, gated parking. But paranoia makes people sloppy. I waited until Claire posted a blurry photo of the view from their balcony, a sunset over the city skyline. I reverse, image searched it, matched the angle, found the building, the floor, the unit. Game on. That night, I booked a one-night stay in the building through a short-term rental app, a unit 3 floors below them. I waited until midnight. Then I slipped a letter under their door. Not typed, not threatening. Just this. Do you love him, Claire? I did once, and he ruined me. You should leave before you become me. No reply, no noise, but the following week, Claire showed up at yoga again. Alone. She looked thinner, hair tied too tight, eyes scanning the room like a hunted animal. I waited until after class, approached her outside as Leah. I missed seeing you here, I said. She hesitated, then, yeah, needed a break. You okay? She looked at me for a long moment, as if she wanted to say something, as if the words were bubbling just under the surface. Then she said, Some people change when you stop looking. I smiled, and some people don't change at all. We stood there in silence. Then she turned and walked away. I knew what was coming next. The paranoia, the doubt, the isolation. I had lived it. Now she would. And as for him, his reckoning would come soon enough. Claire started unraveling faster than I expected. The first clue was her hair. She dyed it from auburn to dark brown, almost black. A drastic shift. Maybe she thought it would help her feel new, invisible, safer. But it only made her look more like me. I smiled when I saw her at yoga, nervously tucking strands behind her ears like it wasn't obvious. The next week, she wore a jacket I used to own. Not the exact one, but damn close. Same cut, same color. I almost said something. Instead, I mirrored her. The following session, I wore the exact same shade of jacket, a little more tailored, a little cleaner. She saw me. Her eyes flicked over the lapel, then away. I didn't say a word. She left class early. I started stepping into her online world again, this time more directly. Her clinic's Meet the Team page had her profile photo, that polished smile paired with meaningless fluff. Empathetic leader, mental health advocate, organized multitasker. I submitted a fake job application through the site's contact form using a fabricated resume, listing Claire as a personal reference. Then I followed up with a phone call to her direct line. I used a voice changer, slightly robotic, just enough to unsettle. Hi, Claire. I'm calling to verify a reference. You listed an Ella M on your form. Can you confirm the dates you worked with her? Silence. Then, I didn't list anyone by that name. Oh, I said. That's strange. She listed you as a reference. Click. She hung up. Later that day, I checked the clinic website again. Her profile was gone. I made a new email, claire.r@admin@gmail.com. Used it to sign up for newsletters, accounts, anything I could tie to her name. Slowly, I built a small presence around her, but off. A pixelated profile photo here, a comment on a mental health blog there, a Goodreads review that quoted a phrase I remembered her using at yoga. Slow healing is still healing. I left that quote on a post titled Coping with Delusional Paranoia. People don't notice these things unless they're looking, but she was always looking now. 2 weeks later, I received a message from her real email account. Subject, please. Body. What do you want from me? I didn't reply. Instead, I made a social post using my Leah identity. A photo of me, profile only, silhouetted against the same city skyline she once posted. Caption, be careful who you replace. Some of us don't go quietly. I left it public. No tags, no context, but I knew she saw it. She blocked me that night. Then I turned to James. I signed up for a dating app using a burner identity, just a basic profile, nothing special. After a few swipes, there he was. Ryan M. Consultant. Likes fitness, hiking, and deep conversations. His bio included a quote I remembered him saying years ago. Pain is temporary, regret lasts longer. I matched with him, waited. He messaged first. Hey there. I replied. You look familiar. Do I? You remind me of someone I used to know, but he went by a different name. Silence, blocked, coward. I began leaking small pieces of his past. Anonymous tips to HR sites, old usernames tied to shady forums, breadcrumbs that hinted he wasn't who he claimed to be. Nothing criminal, just ugly. Just enough to stir discomfort, enough to plant doubt. Then I went further. I walked into Claire's building, confident and composed, told the doorman I was her sister, Leah Rivers, here to drop off a package she forgot. He nodded, barely looking up, buzzed me in. In the elevator, I pressed the floor button and held my breath. Her door was dark, no noise behind it. I slid a manila envelope under the frame. Inside, one of our old photos and a note. She knows everything. She's not done yet. A week passed. Then 2, silence. No more yoga, no more posts. Her LinkedIn was deleted. His was too. It felt empty. Until one night, around 3 a.m., I got an email from Claire. Subject, no subject. Bodies, I gave up everything. My job, my friends, my peace. He still tells me I'm imagining it, but I remember now. I remember you. You win. But please, stop watching me. I stared at the screen for a long time, not because I felt guilt, but because I felt nothing at all. The game was almost over. She stopped begging. After that last message, Claire went dark for good. No more emails, no more blocked profiles, not even yoga. It was over for her. But he still had peace, and that wasn't acceptable. James, Ryan, was harder to reach. He didn't get rattled like Claire. He buried things, compartmentalized. It's what made him dangerous in the first place. So I shifted tactics. Not chaos, not confusion, evidence. The kind of evidence that makes people look at you differently, the kind you can't scrub. I took the home videos, the photos, the audio recordings, the ones he didn't know still existed, and curated them into a private folder titled Ryan M. Life Before Claire. I wrote a cover letter to his employer's HR team. Nothing dramatic, just concerned. Hi, I'm writing to share some material regarding one of your senior consultants, Ryan M. This is not a legal complaint, nor is it a threat. However, after learning about his recent work in mental health tech, I found it disturbing that someone with a history of psychological manipulation and digital erasure tactics holds a position of such trust. The attached materials raise questions about his identity, ethics, and past relationships. I leave it to you to determine whether this aligns with your company's values. Regards, a concerned former acquaintance. I didn't expect them to fire him, but I knew they'd look at him differently. A whisper campaign in a corporate environment spreads faster than any formal complaint. And, unlike revenge, whispers don't leave fingerprints. Next, I sent Claire a package. No, just a USB stick containing the full video compilation, every deleted moment, every digital artifact, labeled, "You needed to see everything." She didn't respond, but a few days later, I got a ping on my anonymous email. An unfamiliar name, mhalladmin@hallowmere.org. Subject, inquiry. You've been referenced as a third-party witness in a voluntary mental health review. Are you willing to confirm prior acquaintance with a Ms. Claire Rivers? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The system was already turning. Claire had cracked. And from the outside, it would look just like mine had. The late-night calls, the paranoia, the fear, the name no one else remembered. I imagined her in a sterile room, a doctor gently asking, "Who is Ella?" And her, with wild eyes, whispering, "She's real." Meanwhile, I kept showing up, not in person, digitally. I subscribed to Ryan's company blog using the name Ella M. I joined a webinar he was speaking at. Left a Q&A comment. Do you believe in redemption after erasure? I emailed one of his colleagues and asked, "Did Ryan tell you about his time in Sussex?" He hadn't. I was always just one step behind him, the breath on his neck he could never quite shake. I waited for him to break, and eventually he did. One night, I received a message from a burner account from unknown.dust@mail.com. Subject, "Let's talk. I know what you're doing. I know who you are. Whatever satisfaction you've squeezed from this, I hope it was worth it. You didn't win. You're just stuck." Stuck. That word hit differently because for the first time, I wasn't lost. I wasn't questioning myself. I wasn't doubting what was real. They were, but I still had one final step to take, the part most people never follow through on, the exit. So I deleted every fake profile. I burned every email account. I formatted the drive that held their pictures. I shredded the journals, the notes, the maps, all of it. Gone, except for one thing, a single photo. Me standing beside James, smiling, sun in our eyes, hair tangled by the wind. I mailed it to his new office. No note, no envelope, just the photo. Paper clipped to a sticky note that read, "Do they know yet?" He'd understand. He'd see the handwriting, the date printed on the photo, the timestamp from a deleted phone. And he'd wonder, not just who saw it, but who believed it. I moved into a new flat 2 weeks later. Blank walls, blank slate, a different city, different name, new start. Not Leah, not Ella, someone else entirely. I still go to yoga sometimes. Different studio, different mat. I keep to myself. But sometimes when I catch someone looking at me in a reflection, I wonder if it's someone I once erased. You don't notice when you start disappearing, and it doesn't happen all at once. It's a drip, a quiet leak in your sense of self, a missing memory, a conversation that doesn't land the way it should, someone calling you by the wrong name, a friend forgetting something that once defined you, until one day you look in the mirror and think, "This is not who I used to be." That's what Claire's thinking now, or was the last time I saw her. It happened outside a pharmacy. I wasn't looking for her. I had moved on. I truly had. New job, new flat, new name, a world where Ella didn't exist. I liked it that way, but there she was, across the street, slower, smaller, hair cropped short now. She wore glasses, no makeup. She looked like someone trying to take up less space. We made eye contact. For a second, I saw the panic rise in her chest, a flicker of recognition, then something else, resignation. She didn't run, she didn't speak. She just stood there. I tilted my head just slightly and smiled. She dropped her bag as she turned away, fumbled to pick it up, didn't look back. Didn't have to. She knew. That's when I realized this was done. Not because I'd beaten her, but because she would never stop looking over her shoulder. James, Ryan, whatever name he used now, I heard he moved again. The company quietly parted ways. I found a whisper of it on Reddit. Senior guy at our firm left under weird circumstances. HR sealed it tight. Something about identity issues. Perfect. I never needed to destroy them. I just needed them to know they were never safe from truth. But here's the thing they don't tell you about revenge. It doesn't bring peace. It brings clarity. I know what happened to me. I know what was taken, and I know what I took back. I sit now in my new flat, where the windows don't creak and no one knows my face. My name is tucked away, safe in documents no one sees. My face appears nowhere unless I choose it. There are no mirrors in my apartment, just one photo on the mantle. A black and white print of a stormy sea. I like that photo. It doesn't show anyone. No people, no past, just chaos held still. People assume revenge is about rage, that it's fiery, loud, all-consuming. But they're wrong. Real revenge is quiet, patient, surgical. It slices without bleeding. It leaves the victim unsure where the cut even is until they're in pieces. Claire erased me, so I erased her. And now I live in the space she used to occupy. Not physically, not socially, psychologically. She is a ghost in her own story. And I am the author now. No jump scares, no gore. Just dread that lingers. Always. Even when the story ends.